That night, as my son yelled, "Get out, Mum! My fiancé doesn't want you here," in front of 200 guests, I understood that there are words you never forget and never forgive. My name is Victoria. I am 57 years old, and this is the story of how a wedding destroyed a family, but also saved my life. It was the most anticipated day. We had been planning everything for months. The ranch garden was full of white flowers, the band was playing since sundown, and the tables had linen cloths that I had embroidered myself during nights of insomnia. Everything was perfect. My son, Ethan, was marrying Olivia, that girl with the light eyes and the cold smile who appeared 2 years ago and changed everything. I was wearing the royal blue dress my mother had worn at my own wedding. I styled my hair in an elegant bun. I wanted to look good, dignified, as is appropriate for the groom's mother. When I arrived at the reception hall, Olivia saw me. She didn't say a word. She just whispered something in Ethan's ear. He walked toward me with quick steps, his jaw clenched. I knew him. It was the same look he had when he was a boy and knew he'd done something wrong, but didn't want to admit it. "Mum," he began, lowering his voice. "Olivia says that your dress is stealing the spotlight, that the blue is too flashy." I felt a punch in the chest, but I took a deep breath. "It's fine, son. I'll change if you want. I brought another dress in the car." "No, Mum." His voice turned harsh. "It's better if you leave." "What?" "Olivia is very nervous. She says your presence makes her tense, that you've always judged her." The hall was full. The music was playing. The guests were talking, oblivious to what was happening just 10 feet from the head table. "Ethan, I'm your mother. I organized this wedding. I paid for half of all this. And you think that gives you the right to ruin my wife's day?" he yelled. The hall went silent. All eyes fell on us. Then he said it, loud and clear, in front of everyone. "Get out, Mum. My fiancé doesn't want you here." I felt something break inside me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just nodded my head, picked up my purse, and walked toward the exit. No one stopped me. No one followed me. I got in my car and drove back to the ranch. The keys were hanging on my neck, as always. Those keys my father left me before he died, along with the land, the house, the legacy of 4 generations. The same keys Ethan had wanted ever since he got engaged to Olivia. I got home. I took off the blue dress. I folded it carefully and put it in the closet. I didn't sleep that night. But the next day when the phone rang and I saw his name on the screen, I knew everything was about to change. I took a deep breath and answered. Sometimes we trust the wrong people too much. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. "Mom." His voice sounded tired over the phone. "Can you come to the ranch? We need to talk." I hung up without answering. I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee. The same French roast coffee I used to make Ethan when he was a boy, and woke up early to help me with the horses. Because that's how it was before. Before Olivia, my son and I were a team. After his father died 15 years ago, it was just the two of us and the ranch. We learned to survive together. Ethan was 12 years old when I became a widow. He was a quiet boy, with big hands and sad eyes, who tried to be strong for me. "Mom, I can fix the fence," he would say, carrying tools heavier than he was. "No, my love, you are still a child." "Not anymore, Mum. I'm the man of the house now." And he tried. God knows he tried. We grew up on this land together. He learned to herd cattle, to repair tractors, to negotiate with suppliers when I didn't have the strength to do it. He hugged me when I cried at night. When I missed his father so much, I felt like I couldn't breathe. Everything is going to be all right, Mum. I promise. And he kept his promise. He became a man here, within these adobe walls, under these oak trees that my grandfather planted. When he finished college in the city, he came back. Mum, my place is here, with you, on the ranch. It made me so happy to hear that. We worked side by side. I kept the accounts, he took care of the livestock. In the evening, we would sit on the porch to watch the sunset, with coffee and a donut. You know, Mum, he would say, one day my kids are going to grow up here, just like I did. They're going to run through these same yards. They're going to learn to ride the same horses. I hope so, my love. I hope you find a woman who loves this land as much as we do. He would smile. I'm going to find her, I promise you. But it didn't happen that way. He met Olivia in a downtown New York bar during a business meeting. She was a successful, modern business administrator. She wore high heels and expensive perfumes. She talked about investments and returns. The first time he brought her to the ranch, I saw the look of disappointment on her face. You live here? She asked, looking at the old walls, the dark wood furniture, the black and white photographs of my grandparents. We live here, Ethan corrected her. It's beautiful, isn't it? Olivia smiled, but her eyes said something else. From that day on, everything changed. Ethan started coming home late. He stopped sitting with me on the porch. He talked about selling cattle, about modernizing, about turning the ranch into an event venue. Mom, Olivia has good ideas. We could earn a lot of money. This isn't a business, Ethan. It's our home. It's both, Mom, and we have to be realistic. That word, realistic, he had never used before. The ranch keys hung on my neck, the same ones my father handed to me before he died, with tears in his eyes. Victoria, this land is your inheritance. Don't let anyone take it from you, not even your son. At the time, I didn't understand why he said that. Now I did. The phone rang again. It was Ethan again. This time I answered. As I tell all this, I wonder where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. Mum, please. I need the ranch keys. His voice sounded different, colder, as if he were reading a script someone else had written for him. What do you need them for, Ethan? Silence on the other end of the line. I heard voices in the background. A woman's voice. Olivia. Olivia and I want to make some changes. You know, modernize a little. Maybe remodel the main living room. Change the old furniture. Those old pieces of furniture were made by your great-grandfather with his own hands. Mom, please don't start. Yesterday was enough drama. Drama? I felt my voice crack. You threw me out of your wedding and I was the dramatic one. You decided to wear that dress knowing that… Ethan, that was your grandmother's dress. The same one she wore when she married your grandfather on that same ranch you now want to remodel. Another silence. Longer. Heavier. Mum, things change. Traditions change. Olivia is right. We can't live in the past. Olivia is right. Those 3 words that began to define my son ever since he met her. When are you coming home? I asked, trying to change the subject. That's the point, Mum. Olivia and I are not going to live there anymore. We're going to stay in the city apartment. It's more practical for her job. I felt as if someone had sucked the air out of my lungs. But you said you were going to raise your children here, that this was your home. And it is. but I also need to build my own life. With my wife. My wife. He no longer said her name with affection. He said it like someone signing a contract. So why do you need the keys? Because legally it's my house too, Mum. My father left it to me in the will. 50% for you, 50% for me. There it was. The truth. The fracture. His father had indeed left him half of the property. But the keys, the control, the administration, he left that to me. With a specific clause, Victoria will decide the future of the ranch as long as she has life and mental capacity. Ethan will only receive his share when she so determines. My husband knew me. He knew I would never sell. He knew I would protect this land, even from our own son, if necessary. The keys stay with me, Ethan. Mom, don't be childish. We just want to make a few changes. Maybe rent the ranch for events, weddings, 15-year-old birthday parties. We could generate extra income. Turn our home into a business. It's an opportunity. Olivia has already talked to an architect. We could expand the garden, build a new patio, put in an air-conditioned ballroom. No. No. No, Ethan. This house is not for sale. It is not available. It is not a project. But it's mine too. That scream, that tone, it was the voice of a stranger. Your father left you this land for you to protect it, not to exploit it. My father is dead, Mum. He's been dead for 15 years, and you keep living as if he were going to come back tomorrow. I fell silent. His words cut through me like knives. I'm sorry, Mum. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. My voice came out calm. Too calm. And that's fine. You're right. Your father is dead. And I have lived all these years taking care of what he loved, what he built, what he dreamed for you. Mum, but maybe you're right. Maybe it's time for everyone to live their own lives. What do you mean? I mean that the keys stay with me, that the ranch remains my responsibility, and that you two can build the life you want, somewhere else. Are you kicking us out? No. I'm giving you what you asked for. Your space, your independence, your own life. I heard Olivia talking in the background, pressing, annoyed. Ethan answered her in a low voice. Mum, Olivia says you're being selfish, that you're clinging to material things, that... Ethan, I interrupted him. Yesterday, when you yelled at me in front of all those guests, when you asked me to leave your wedding, there was a woman sitting near me. I didn't know her. But before I left the room, she took my hand and said something to me. Do you know what she said? What? She said, Ma'am, when a son chooses between his mother and his wife, he has already made his choice, and you must respect that choice, but you must also respect yourself. Mum, it's not a competition between you and Olivia. No, my love, it's not, because in a competition, both sides want to win, and I don't want to compete anymore. I just want peace. And the keys? I touched the necklace where they hung. Cold, heavy, full of history. The keys stay where they have always been, with me, until the right moment to hand them over comes. And when will that moment be? When you have a heart that deserves them. I hung up before he could answer. I sat in the kitchen for hours. The coffee cooled in the cup. The afternoon shadows began to fill the house. I walked through the empty hallways. I touched the adobe walls. I looked at the old photographs. My father in his cowboy hat. My mother with her silk shawl. Ethan as a child riding his first horse. In my husband's study, on the wooden desk, was the last letter he wrote me before he died. I had read it so many times, I knew it by heart. Victoria, my love, if you are reading this, it is because I am no longer with you. Forgive me for leaving you alone with so much responsibility. Take care of the land. Take care of our son. But above all, take care of yourself. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. The strongest woman I have ever known. I love you. Always. That night, for the first time in 15 years, I didn't cry for my dead husband. I cried for my living son. Because there are pains that are worse than death. Like watching someone you love turn into someone you don't recognize. The keys hung on my neck, and I knew that soon I was going to have to use them in a way I never imagined. Have you ever had to choose between love and self-respect? Tell me what you decided. Sometimes, the most difficult decisions are the ones that teach us the most. 3 days passed without Ethan calling me. 3 days in which I woke up expecting to see his truck coming up the dirt road. 3 days in which I brewed extra coffee, just in case he arrived. 3 days in which I caught myself checking the phone every half hour. On the 4th day, I decided that pride wasn't worth more than my son. I called him. Mom? Ethan. My voice trembled. Can we talk? Silence. I heard him say something to someone else. To her. Sure, Mom. Tell me. Not over the phone. Come home. I'll make dinner for you. You and Olivia. I want us to start over. More silence. Whispered voices in the background. Olivia says she doesn't know if it's a good idea. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Please, son, let me make this right. Let me get to know her better. Maybe I haven't been fair to her. The words burned my mouth because I didn't mean them, but I needed to say them. Really, Mum? Really, come tomorrow, I'll make meatloaf, the one you like, and apple cobbler for dessert. I heard his voice soften. My boy was still there, somewhere beneath all those new layers. All right, we'll come tomorrow, around 7. Perfect. I'll be waiting. I hung up and stared at the kitchen, the old iron stove where my mother taught me to cook, the clay pots I inherited from my grandmother, the hand-painted tiles we brought from New Orleans when we got married. Was I really willing to give in? To trade my peace for his presence? Yes, I was. Because that's what mothers do. We bend, we break, but we don't let go. I spent the entire next day preparing dinner. I kneaded the dough with my own hands. I cooked the turkey low and slow. I set the dining room table with the embroidered tablecloth, the wax candles, the china plates we only used on special occasions. I put on a simple beige, discreet dress, nothing that could steal the spotlight from anyone. I put my hair up. I wore the pearl earrings my husband gave me on our 10th anniversary. The keys hung on my neck, hidden under the dress. At 10 minutes past 7, they arrived. When I saw Ethan's truck park in front of the house, my heart sped up as if I were a child waiting for her father. How pathetic, I thought. But I couldn't help it. I went out to greet them. Ethan got out first. He was wearing a white shirt, dark jeans, his hair slicked back with gel. He looked handsome. He looked different, like an actor playing the part of my son. Olivia got out next. A tight wine-coloured dress, high heels, straight, perfect hair, impeccable makeup. She carried a designer handbag on one arm and her phone in her hand. Good evening, Victoria, she said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Olivia, it's nice that you came. Come in, please. Ethan gave me a kiss on the cheek. Quick, forced. Smells good, Mum. It's your favorite. Meatloaf. They entered the house. Olivia looked around with that expression I already knew. Evaluation. As if she were calculating the worth of every piece of furniture, every painting, every bit of history. How quaint, she finally said. The house is 120 years old, I explained, closing the door. My great-grandfather built it when he bought this land. Wow, it definitely has character. They sat in the living room while I finished serving. From the kitchen, I could hear them talking in low voices, nervous laughter, awkward silences. When I returned with the pitcher of iced tea, Olivia was taking photos of the living room with her phone. Do you like the decor? I asked, trying to sound friendly. Oh, yes, it's very authentic. I was just taking some pictures to send to my cousin. She loves the vintage style. Vintage, as if my life were a Pinterest trend. Dinner is ready. Come to the dining room. We sat at the long wooden table, Ethan in his usual place, on my right, Olivia across from him. I served the plates carefully, making sure everything looked perfect. Enjoy, I said, sitting down. Ethan tasted the meatloaf. He closed his eyes. God, Mom, no one makes meatloaf like you. I smiled. For the first time in days, something felt normal. I'm glad you like it, my love. Olivia took a small bite. She chewed slowly. She put her fork down. It's good, although I can't eat too much seasoning. It irritates my stomach. It doesn't have too much seasoning, I said. But I can bring you something else, if… No. It's fine. I'll eat what I can. Silence. The wall clock ticked with a sound I had never noticed before. Well, I finally said, I wanted you to come because I want to apologize. Ethan looked up. Olivia did too. I was unfair to both of you, with your wedding, with everything. The words came out mechanical, rehearsed. This is your life, your marriage, and I must learn to respect that. Olivia smiled, for the first time, a genuine smile. Thank you, Victoria. That means a lot to me, to us. Ethan took my hand. Mum, I went too far too. I shouldn't have yelled at you. And especially not in front of everyone. It's over, son. The important thing is to move forward. Exactly, Olivia interjected. Moving forward, new beginnings. We toasted with iced tea, like a normal family, as if nothing had happened. After dinner, while I was serving the apple cobbler, Olivia got up. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. Of course. It's the second door on the left. She left. Ethan and I were left alone. Mum, thank you for doing this. I know it wasn't easy. Nothing is easy when it comes to you, my love, but it's always worth it. He smiled. My boy, still there. Olivia is a good woman, Mum. You just need to get to know each other better. I know. And I'm going to try. Truly. We talked for a while longer. He told me about their honeymoon in San Diego, about the plans for the apartment, about a new job Olivia got at a transnational corporation. Everything sounded perfect. Too perfect. Olivia was taking a long time to return. Is your wife all right? I asked. She must be touching up her makeup. You know how women are. I got up. I'm going to see if she needs anything. I walked down the hallway. The bathroom door was open. Empty. Olivia. Silence. I kept walking. I passed my husband's study. The door was ajar. I pushed it open. Olivia was inside, with her back to me, her phone held up high. She was taking pictures of the desk, of the drawers, of the documents on the table. Olivia? She turned around, startled. Her face went pale for a second, but she quickly regained her composure. "Oh, Victoria, you scared me." She laughed nervously. "Sorry, I just saw this room and it seemed so interesting. All these old things. Is this your husband's study?" "It was. Of course. Sorry." She put the phone in her purse. "It has really nice thing. I love vintage." There was that word again. "This room is usually locked." The door was open. I thought I could come in. "Sorry, yes." "Don't worry, let's go back to Ethan." We returned to the dining room. Olivia sat down as if nothing had happened, smiling, relaxed. But I wasn't. We finished dessert with superficial conversation. Olivia complimented the house 3 more times. Ethan talked about his plans to help me with the ranch's maintenance. "Maybe we could hire someone to paint the exterior walls, Mum. They look a little neglected." "They have that color because it's a special lime wash paint. That's how it was done before. But we could modernize, give it a more contemporary look." Contemporary, modern, vintage, all words that meant the same thing. Your life is obsolete. They left at 10 o'clock. "Thanks for dinner, Mum. It was delicious. Whenever you want, this is your home." Olivia hugged me, a cold, calculated hug. "Thank you for giving us another chance, Victoria. It means a lot." I watched them drive away up the dirt road. The truck's taillights disappeared among the trees. I closed the door. I walked straight to the study. On the desk, the documents my husband had organized were now moved. Slightly, almost imperceptibly, but I knew every inch of that space. Someone had looked through them. I opened the main drawer. The property deeds were there. The will, the land titles, everything was in order. But something was missing. The yellow envelope, the envelope where my husband kept an important letter. A letter he made me promise I would only open if someone ever tried to take the ranch from me. I searched every drawer, every shelf, behind the books. It wasn't there. A chill ran down my spine. I touched the keys hanging on my neck, and for the first time, I understood that I wasn't being paranoid. I was being watched, I was being studied, I was being measured to see how much longer I was going to be an obstacle to someone else's plans. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the study, with the lights off, looking out the window, and I wondered how much time I had before they tried to take everything from me. As I tell all this, I wonder where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. The next morning, I decided to search the whole house for the yellow envelope. I checked every closet, every box stored in the attic, every corner where my husband might have hidden it. Nothing. I was about to give up when the doorbell rang. It was Mr. Miller, our family lawyer, a man of 70, with a white moustache and an impeccable suit that always smelled of pipe tobacco and cologne. "Mrs. Victoria, good morning. May I come in?" "Mr. Miller, what a surprise. Of course, come in." We entered the living room. I served him coffee. He sat down with that seriousness lawyers bring when the news is not good. "Victoria, I'm here because I received a very strange call yesterday." "Strange?" "From your daughter-in-law, Olivia." I felt my stomach clench. "Olivia called you?" "Yes. She told me that you had asked her to contact me, that you wanted to review your husband's will, that there were doubts about the property distribution." "I never asked her to do that," Mr. Miller nodded slowly. "I imagined. That's why I came." "Victoria, That young woman asked me very specific questions. She wanted to know if Ethan's 50% was transferable, if he could sell his share without your consent, if there was any clause that gave you absolute power over the ranch. And what did you tell her? I told her that information is confidential, that I can only discuss it with you or your son, in your presence. She got quite annoyed. He took a sip of coffee. Victoria, is something happening that I should know about? I told him everything. The wedding, the yelling, the dinner, the photos in the study, the missing envelope. Mr. Miller listened in silence, frowning. That envelope you mention was the one containing your husband's letter? Yes. Do you know what it said? I know your husband asked me to draft a document years ago, shortly before he died, but he never told me what it contained. He only asked me to certify his signature and keep it in a sealed yellow envelope. Do you have a copy? No. Your husband was very clear. Only one original. In your hands. He told me it was a protection, an insurance. Against what? Mr. Miller looked at me with those tired eyes that have seen too many family tragedies. Against this, I suppose. Against the day someone tried to take what is yours. He left half an hour later, but not before warning me. Victoria, be careful. I've seen cases like this. When money and property are involved, people change, even family. Ethan is not like that. Ethan maybe not, but Olivia. I didn't answer, because I had no answer. That afternoon I received a text message from Ethan. Mum, Olivia wants to invite you to lunch tomorrow, just the two of you, to get to know each other better. What do you say? Something in my gut told me not to go, but something stronger told me I needed to know what was going on. Of course. What time? At 2:00, at the ranch restaurant. Ironic, isn't it? I'll be there. The next day I got dressed carefully. Black pants, white blouse, a simple jacket, the keys under my blouse, as always. I arrived at the restaurant 5 minutes early. Olivia was already there, sitting at a table by the window, her phone in her hand and a glass of white wine in front of her. She looked relaxed, confident, like a chess player who already knows how the game is going to end. Victoria, how punctual. Please sit down. I sat down. I ordered iced water. Thank you for coming, Olivia said, putting down her phone. I know things started badly between us, and I want to fix that. Me too. Good. Because look, Victoria, I'm not your enemy. I know you think I came to take your son away, but that's not true. I came to love him, and that includes respecting his family. She sounded sincere, almost believable. I'm glad to hear that. And that's why I want to be honest with you. She leaned forward. Ethan is stressed, very stressed. He feels trapped between you and me, and that's not fair to him. I have never asked him to choose. I know, but he feels like he has to, especially with the ranch issue. There it was, the real reason for the lunch. The ranch issue. Victoria, we both know that property is huge, beautiful, full of potential. But it's also a burden. Maintaining it costs money, time, energy. Ethan tells me you do everything alone, that you don't accept help, that you cling to something that is perhaps already too big for you. I took a deep breath. I counted to 5. The ranch is my home, not a burden. Of course it's your home. No one says otherwise. But think about it. You alone in that huge house, without Ethan, without anyone. Wouldn't it be easier to sell, or rent, or do something productive with it. Something productive like what? Like a boutique hotel or an event venue. I have contacts in the industry. We could do something incredible, modern, profitable. You would receive profits without having to worry about maintenance. And who would manage it? Olivia smiled. Well, I have experience in administration. We could form a partnership. You put up the property. We put up the work. Shared profits. And the keys. Excuse me? The keys. Who would have them? Her smile faltered for a second. Well, obviously we would need complete access to do the renovations, to show the place to potential clients. So you would live there? We wouldn't necessarily live there, but we would need full use of the property. It's the only way the business can work. I took a sip of water, slowly, feeling how every piece of the puzzle clicked into place. And where would I live? Wherever you want. You could buy an apartment in New York City. Something more comfortable. No stairs. Not so much work. At your age, Victoria, you should be enjoying life, not killing yourself in a 19th century house. At your age, those 3 words that say, you're already old, you're useless, it's time for you to get out of the way. Was this your idea or Ethan's? It was both our idea. Ethan is worried about you. He's afraid something will happen to you there alone, that you'll fall down the stairs, that you'll get sick and no one will be around to help you. It's for your own good, Victoria. How considerate. Olivia didn't detect the sarcasm in my voice, or she didn't care. So what do you say? Can we at least consider the idea? Talk to an architect? Look at the numbers? No. Her smile froze. No? No, Olivia. The ranch is not for sale. It is not available for business. It is not open to partnerships. It is my home, and it will continue to be my home until the day I decide otherwise. But Ethan is an owner too. Ethan owns 50% of the property, but I have complete control over its use and administration. That's what my husband stipulated in the will. That's unfair. No, it's protection. Olivia put down the glass with more force than necessary. Victoria, I don't want to sound rude, but you're being selfish. That property could change your son's life, your family's life, and you cling to it as if it were more important than us. It's not more important. It's different. The ranch is a legacy. You are temporary. She turned pale. Temporary? Marriages can end, Olivia. Businesses can fail. Promises can be broken. But the land remains. I stood up. I left some money on the table to pay for my water. Thank you for the invitation, but I think we have nothing more to talk about. Victoria, wait. Give my son my best. Tell him that when he wants to see me, he knows where to find me. I left the restaurant with my heart pounding but my legs firm. I got in my car. I sat for a moment, breathing. I took the keys from under my blouse. I held them in my hand. Cold, heavy, real. And at that moment, I knew the war had already begun. Only this time, I wasn't going to give up. Has anyone ever made you feel like you are an obstacle in their way? How did you face it? That night, as I was preparing chamomile tea in the kitchen, I heard the sound of a truck coming up the road. It was 11 o'clock at night. My heart raced. I thought of Ethan, that maybe he had come to talk to me, to apologize, to tell me that Olivia was wrong. But when I opened the door, I saw it was Mr. Miller's car. He got out quickly, with a manila envelope in his hand and an expression I hadn't seen before. Victoria, forgive me for the hour, but you need to see this. What is it, Mr. Miller? We went into the living room. He didn't sit down. He placed the envelope on the table carefully, as if it contained something dangerous. After our conversation yesterday, I kept thinking about that document your husband asked me to certify. I went to the archive in my office. I looked through all the old files, and I found this. He opened the envelope. He pulled out a yellowed sheet with my husband's handwriting. It's a copy, the only one I made without him knowing. I did it because your husband was very ill when he came to see me. And something in his tone made me think that this document was important, that perhaps you would need it someday. I took the sheet with trembling hands. It was a letter, handwritten, dated 3 weeks before my husband died. I started to read. Victoria, my love, if you are reading this, it is because someone is trying to take the ranch from you. And if they are trying, it means I was right. 2 months ago, when I went to the hospital for my last tests, I met a man in the waiting room, an older man, sick like me. We started talking. He told me his story. He said he had an only son, whom he raised alone after his wife died, that he gave him everything: education, values, the complete family inheritance. But when his son got married, everything changed. The daughter-in-law began to manipulate him, little by little. First with kind words, then with ideas of modernization. Finally, she convinced him to sign a power of attorney. She told him it was to help him with the procedures for his illness. The man signed, and 2 weeks later, his son and daughter-in-law sold his house. They put him in a nursing home. They kept everything. When he told me this, that man was crying. He told me it wasn't my son who betrayed me. It was my manipulated son. But the result is the same. I died alone, without my home, without my dignity. Victoria, that story haunted me until my last night. And I understood that I needed to protect you. Not from Ethan, but from whoever could change Ethan. That's why I drafted this letter. That's why I left the clauses of the will as I did. Not because I don't trust our son, but because I trust you. I trust that you will know how to recognize when intentions are pure and when they are poison disguised as modernity. If anyone pressures you to hand over the keys, if anyone makes you feel old or incapable, if anyone tries to convince you that the ranch is a burden, resist. Because that land is not just property, it is the backbone of our family. It is the place where our ancestors bled and dreamed. It is the only place in the world where our history has roots. And you, my love, are the guardian of that history. Don't let anyone, not even our son, convince you that you are an obstacle. You are the door, and you decide who can enter. I love you. I have always loved you. And from wherever I am, I will continue to watch over you. Protect the keys. Protect the land. Protect yourself. Yours forever, Robert. When I finished reading, tears were falling onto the paper. Mr. Miller put a hand on my shoulder. Your husband was a wise man, Victoria. He already knew. He already knew this was going to happen. He didn't know exactly what, but he knew it was possible. That's why he protected you. I dried my tears. Mr. Miller, what can I do? Legally, you are protected. The will is clear. Ethan cannot sell, rent, or modify the property without your explicit and notarized consent. But, he paused, the law protects property, Victoria. It doesn't protect hearts. What do you mean? I mean they can pressure you, manipulate you, make you feel guilty. They can even try to declare that you are not in your right mind to make decisions. I've seen cases like this. I felt a chill. They can do that? They can try. If they get a doctor to certify that you suffer from dementia, cognitive impairment, or any condition that makes you incompetent, they could request legal guardianship. But I'm perfectly fine, you know that. I know. But in the hands of the right lawyers, with the right doctors. He didn't finish the sentence. There was no need. What should I do? First, keep this letter in a safe place, in a bank, with someone you trust, not in the house. Second, go to your doctor. Request a complete examination, physical and mental. Have him certify in writing that you are in full possession of your faculties. Third, he looked at me with sadness. Prepare for the worst. The worst? For Ethan to completely take his wife's side. He would never... Victoria, I have been a family lawyer for 40 years, and I can tell you something I learned. When a man has to choose between his mother and his bed, he almost always chooses the bed. The words hurt me like a physical blow, but I knew he was right. Mr. Miller left at midnight. I was left alone in the living room, with my husband's letter in my hands. I read it 3 more times. Each time, his voice became clearer in my mind. You are the guardian of that history. Don't let anyone convince you that you are an obstacle. You are the door. I stood up. I walked to the study. I opened the safe that was hidden behind my father's portrait. I stored the letter there along with the original property deeds. I locked the door. I touched the keys hanging on my neck. And I made a decision. If they wanted a fight, they were going to get a fight. But not with yelling, not with drama, not with scenes, with silence, with patience, with the same quiet strength my husband taught me when we took care of this land together. At 7 o'clock in the morning the next day, I called my doctor. I requested an urgent appointment for all possible tests. At 8 o'clock, I called the bank. I made an appointment to open a safety deposit box. At 9 o'clock, my phone rang. It was Ethan. Mum? Good morning, son. Olivia told me what happened yesterday. That you were rude to her. That you insulted her. I didn't insult anyone. I just made it clear that the ranch is not for sale. No one said it was for sale. We just wanted to propose an idea to you. A family business. Ethan, do you really think I need a business at my age? Do you really think I want to turn the home where you were raised into a hotel? You're not the only one who decides, Mum. I'm an owner of the property too. Not of the legacy. That makes no sense. To you, maybe not. But to me, it does. Silence. Agitated breathing. Olivia says you're being selfish, that you're clinging to the past, that you need help. Help? Yes, Mom. Professional help. Maybe you should talk to someone, a therapist, or a doctor, to help you, to let go. There it was, what Mr. Miller warned me about. Professional help. Doctor. Mental incompetence. Ethan, do you really think I'm crazy? No, Mom, but I think you're lonely, that you've gotten trapped in that house with ghosts and memories, and that's not healthy. I am perfectly healthy. Then prove it. Come live with us for a while. Leave the ranch. Get out of there. And the keys? Leave the keys with the other stuff. For safety. So no one enters while you're gone. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. I counted to 10. No, Ethan. No? I'm not leaving my house. I'm not leaving the keys. And I'm not going to keep arguing this with you. Then I don't know what else to do, Mum. I really don't know how to help you anymore. I don't need your help, son. I need your respect. I can't respect a decision that is hurting you. The only decision that is hurting me is yours, the one to choose a woman you barely know over the mother who raised you. You're starting again. It's always the same with you. Either I'm with you or I'm against you. No, Ethan. Either you're with me or you're with someone who wants to take everything I have. He hung up. The silence after the call was worse than the yelling. I sat in the kitchen for hours. I didn't cry. I had no more tears left for this. I just felt a deep emptiness, like when my husband died, like when I understood I was alone in the world. But this time was different. This time I wasn't a widow. I was orphaned of a son, and that hurt in a way I never imagined possible. That afternoon I went to the bank. I opened the safety deposit box. I stored copies of all the important documents, deeds, will, my husband's letter. The next day, I went to the doctor. I had blood tests, cognitive tests, memory exams. Mrs. Victoria, you are perfectly healthy, the doctor said a week later. Physically and mentally. In fact, you have better health than many people 20 years younger. Can you give me that in writing? Of course. I stored the medical certificate along with the other documents, and I waited, because I knew this wasn't over. I knew Olivia wouldn't give up, and I knew that my son, my boy, my Ethan, was lost in a place where I could no longer reach him. The keys hung on my neck, and for the first time in my life, I felt that their weight wasn't protection. It was loneliness. I still wonder if I did the right thing by standing firm. And you? What would you have done in my place? 3 weeks passed without hearing anything from Ethan. 3 weeks in which my phone remained silent. 3 weeks in which every noise on the road made me run to the window hoping to see his truck. But it never came. Until that Thursday afternoon. I was in the garden, pruning the rose bushes my mother planted 40 years ago, when I heard the engine. Not just one truck, 2, and a car. I took off my gloves. I wiped the sweat from my forehead. Ethan got out of the first truck, Olivia from the car, and 2 men with briefcases got out of the second truck. Lawyers, by the look of them. My stomach clenched. Ethan, what's going on? He wouldn't look me in the eye. He walked toward me with stiff steps, like a soldier following orders. Mum, we need to talk. Inside. Who are they? They are attorneys Williams and Smith. They've come to help us resolve the situation. What situation? Olivia stepped forward, smiling, as if she were arriving at a party. Victoria, don't be nervous. We just want to clear up a few legal matters. Nothing serious. I didn't invite them in. Mum, please, Ethan said with a tired voice. Don't make this any harder. Something in his tone chilled my blood, but I opened the door. We all went into the living room. The lawyers sat on the sofa. Olivia in the main armchair. Ethan stood near the window, looking outside as if he wanted to be anywhere else. I sat across from them, the keys under my blouse, pressed against my chest. Attorney Williams, a man in a grey suit and frameless glasses, opened his briefcase. Mrs. Victoria, good morning. I am Attorney Williams, legal representative of Mr. Ethan Robert Taylor. We are here today because my client wishes to exercise his rights as co-owner of this ranch. He already knows his rights and his limitations. Precisely why we are here. He pulled out some documents. We have reviewed your late husband's will, and although it is true that you have administrative control of the property, there is a clause that allows the co-owner to request the division of assets if he considers that the current administration is deteriorating the value of the estate. Deteriorating? This ranch is in perfect condition. Physically, perhaps, but economically. He placed the papers on the table. It is losing value. It generates no income. It has no productive use. And according to our calculations, the maintenance costs exceed any potential benefit. This is my home, not a business. Legally, ma'am, it is both. A private property with commercial value, and my client has the right to request that this value be protected. I looked at Ethan. He was still standing with his back to me, looking out the window. Ethan, did you ask for this? He didn't answer. Olivia did it for him. Victoria, Ethan only wants what's best for everyone, including you. Look at this place. It's huge, old, hard to maintain. You are alone here. What if you get sick? If you fall? If something happens to you and no one realizes it until days later? I have a phone. I have neighbors. You are 57 years old, Victoria. And even if you are healthy now, how many more years will you be able to handle this? 5? 10? And then what? Are you going to let this property deteriorate until it's worth nothing? It is worth more than you can understand. Not everything is measured in money. Attorney Smith, younger, with a condescending smile, intervened. Ma'am, no one is questioning your emotional attachment, but we must be realistic. This property has a market value of approximately $3 million. If it were sold, it is not for sale. Or if it were rented for events, it could generate between $30,000 and $50,000 monthly. That's more than $500,000 a year, money that could benefit the whole family. I am not interested. Not even for your son's future, for your future grandchildren. The word grandchildren hit me like a fist. I looked at Olivia. She was smiling. She knew exactly which button she had just pressed. Victoria, I'm 3 months pregnant, Olivia said softly. Ethan is going to be a father. You are going to be a grandmother. The world stopped. What? Ethan finally turned around. His eyes were red. It's true, Mum. That's why we need to think about the future, about providing for our child, about giving him stability. I didn't know. Why haven't you wanted to know? Why have you been so busy fighting with us that you haven't realized what's going on? Tears began to burn my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Congratulations, son. Truly. Then understand, Mum. This isn't just about you and me anymore. It's about my child, your grandson, and he deserves to have parents who aren't stressed about money, who can give him an education, opportunities, a future. And I'm preventing that. You're not preventing it. You're just making things harder than necessary. Attorney Williams spoke again. Mrs. Victoria, my client is willing to reach an agreement. We don't want to go to court. We don't want to make this ugly. But if you do not cooperate, we will have to request the forced division of assets from a judge. And in that process, many things can come to light. Things that you might not want to be public. What things? Your age, your condition of living alone, your refusal to accept help. A judge could interpret that as senile stubbornness. They could question your capacity to make rational decisions. There it was. The threat Mr. Miller had warned me about. I have medical certificates that prove I am in full possession of my faculties. Certificates that you requested recently, which, to a judge, might seem suspicious, as if you knew you were going to be questioned, as if you were preparing to defend yourself against something. I stood up. Enough. Everyone out of my house. Mom! I said, out. My voice came out stronger than I expected. This is my house, and as long as it is, I decide who comes in and who goes out. Olivia also stood up, her hands on her barely visible belly. Victoria, think about your grandson. Do you really want him to grow up knowing that his grandmother preferred an old house over his future? I want him to grow up knowing that his grandmother had dignity, that she didn't sell her soul or her history for money. It's not just money, Ethan yelled. It's my inheritance. It's what my father left me. And you're taking it from me. Your father left you more than property, Ethan. He left you values, principles, respect for what generations before you built. Those values don't pay the bills, no. But they let you sleep in peace. Ethan walked toward me. His face was red, his fists clenched. Give me the keys, Mum. No. Give me the damn keys. The scream echoed throughout the house. The lawyers looked uncomfortable. Olivia put a hand on Ethan's arm. Honey, calm down. It's not worth it. But he was out of control. I've been patient with you. I've tried to talk. I've tried to reason. But you don't listen. You never listen. It's always what you want, what you decide, what you need. And what about me? Don't I matter? You matter more than anything in the world. Then prove it. Give me what's mine. Give me my inheritance. Give me my future. I took off the necklace with the keys. I held them in my hand. Ethan extended his, expecting them. But instead of giving them to him, I pressed them against my chest. These keys are not your future, Ethan. They are your past. And until you understand the difference, you won't have them. His face contorted. With fear, with rage, with pain, with something I couldn't identify. Then this is over. His voice came out cold, flat. I don't have a mother. The words pierced me like bullets. Ethan, a mother who loves her son more than a property doesn't do this. So you choose. Either you're on my side, or you don't have a son. Don't make me choose that. I already chose for both of us. He turned to the lawyers. Prepare the papers. We're going to court. I want the division of assets. I want to sell my part. And I want her out of that house. Ethan, please. You will hear from our lawyers. He walked toward the door. Let's go, Olivia. Olivia looked at me with something that resembled pity, but behind her eyes I saw triumph. I'm sorry, Victoria. Truly. They all left. The lawyers first, then Olivia, finally Ethan. He didn't look back. He didn't say goodbye. He just got into his truck and drove away. I stood at the door with the keys in my hand, watching the 3 vehicles drive away up the dirt road. When the dust settled and the silence returned, I closed the door. I walked to the living room. I sat in the same armchair where my husband used to sit and read the newspaper every morning. And there, finally, I allowed myself to cry. I cried for my son, for the boy who used to hug me and tell me everything was going to be all right, for the man who was supposed to protect this legacy, not destroy it. I cried for the grandson who was about to be born, who would grow up without knowing me, without knowing where he came from, without understanding what his ancestors sacrificed for him to exist. I cried for my husband, for not being here to help me, for leaving me alone with such a heavy burden. And I cried for myself, for the woman who had just lost her only son, for defending what was right. But when I finished crying, I dried my tears, stood up, and hung the keys around my neck again. Because there was something Ethan didn't understand, something Olivia would never understand. Mothers lose battles, we lose children, we lose years of our lives, but we do not lose our dignity. And that night, alone in that huge house, surrounded by silence and memories, I understood something. Sometimes, The greatest love you can give is to let go, even if it tears you apart, even if it kills you, even if it leaves you alone. Because children are not property, but dignity is. And I had chosen mine. Have you ever had to let go of someone you love to save yourself? That night, I learned that sometimes love is also saying no. 2 months later, I received the court papers. Lawsuit for division of assets, request for forced sale, arguments about deficient administration and patrimonial deterioration. Mr. Miller reviewed them with me in the kitchen. Victoria, this is going to be long, maybe years, and expensive. Can we win? Legally, yes. The will is clear, but emotionally, he looked at me sadly. We already lost. He was right. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the porch, looking at the stars, listening to the silence of the land. And then I knew what I had to do. The next morning I called Mr. Miller. I want to make a new will. Are you sure? Completely. I went to his office. I dictated my last wishes in a firm voice. I, Victoria Taylor, widow of Robert, in full use of my mental faculties, declare the following. The Taylor Ranch shall remain under my administration as long as I live. Upon my death, the complete property shall pass to a family trust that cannot be sold, divided, or modified for 50 years. My son Ethan shall receive 50% of the profits generated by the property if it is rented for cultural, educational, or historical events. Never for private commercial purposes. The other 50% shall be administered by a foundation that will protect historical American ranches. If my son attempts to contest this will or sell his share, he will lose all his rights and his percentage will go entirely to the foundation. The keys to the ranch will be delivered to the director of the foundation. This is my will, and it is irrevocable. Mr. Miller looked at me for a long time. Victoria, do you know what this means? It means that no one will win this war, neither him nor me, but the land will. I signed the documents, I had them notarized, I sealed them, and I went home in peace for the first time in months. 2 weeks later, Ethan found out. I don't know how. Maybe Mr. Miller told him. Maybe it was the town gossip. He called me at midnight, drunk, crying. How could you do this to me, Mum? How could you take away my inheritance? I didn't take it from you, Ethan. I protected it. From yourself. You're a damn selfish woman. No, my love. I'm a mother who loved you too much to let you destroy what your father built. He hung up and didn't call back. Months passed. The lawsuit moved slowly. I continued to live on the ranch, tending the rose bushes, feeding the chickens, watching the sunsets. Alone, but at peace. Because I understood something my husband always knew. The land doesn't need you to defend it with yells. It defends itself with time, with patience, with the silent justice that only nature knows how to give. And I just had to wait. The keys hung on my neck. They no longer felt heavy. They were just keys. And I was free. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge. It's protecting what you love and letting time do its work. 2 years passed. 2 years in which I lived on the ranch, taking care of the land, waiting without expecting. The lawsuit had stalled. Ethan's lawyers couldn't do anything against my new will. It was legal, irrevocable, perfect. Mr. Miller visited me every month with updates, always the same. They are still trying, but they have no case. I would nod, serve coffee, and continue with my life. One October afternoon, Mr. Miller arrived with a different look on his face. He didn't bring his briefcase. just a worried expression. Victoria, there's something you need to know. What happened? Ethan and Olivia separated. The world stopped for a second. When? 3 months ago. The divorce was finalized last week. And the baby? Olivia kept full custody. She went to live in Dallas with her family. Ethan has supervised visits every 2 weeks. I sat down slowly. My legs wouldn't hold me. What happened? Mr. Miller sighed. What always happens with women like that? When she didn't get what she wanted from you, she started looking elsewhere. She met a hotel magnate. Rich, older, no family. She discovered her with him. In the apartment they shared, I felt a mixture of pain and sadness so deep I didn't know what to say. How is he? Bad, Victoria. Very bad. He lost his wife, his son, his job, everything. His job? He resigned. Or was he fired? I don't know for sure. But he's living in a cheap motel near the city. Alone. Drinking too much, they told me. Tears started falling without me being able to stop them. And why hasn't he looked for me? Pride? Shame? Maybe both. Mr. Miller left half an hour later. I was left in the kitchen with cold coffee and a broken heart. My son was destroyed, alone, lost, and I couldn't do anything because he had built that hell with his own hands. 3 weeks later, while shopping in town, I saw her. Olivia. She was in a fancy restaurant, sitting on the patio with a man in a suit, grey hair, expensive watch, a shark's smile. She was laughing, flirting, shining, as if nothing had happened, as if she hadn't destroyed my son, as if the baby, who was supposedly her reason for taking the ranch from me, didn't even exist. She saw me. Her eyes met mine. For a second, her smile wavered, but then she regained it. She waved at me, as if we were friends. I didn't wave back. I just kept walking, because I understood something at that moment. Olivia never loved Ethan, never loved the baby. She only loved what they could give her. And when that source dried up, she looked for another. That night, sitting on the porch, I thought about everything that had happened. I thought about the wedding, the yelling, the threats, the lawyers, the last time I saw my son, and I realized that I didn't win this war. But neither did Olivia. Because she got money, yes. She got a new man, yes. But she lost something she will never get back. Peace, because people like her are never satisfied. They always need more. They are always looking for the next opportunity, the next man, the next deal. And someday, when she is old and alone, she will understand that you can't buy what truly matters. My son also paid his price. He lost his family, his dignity, his future. But at least he still had time to learn, to change, to return, if he chose to do so. A month later, in December, the doorbell rang at 6 o'clock in the morning. I opened the door. It was Ethan, thin, with a messy beard, red eyes, wrinkled clothes. But it was my son. "Mum," his voice broke. "I'm sorry." He didn't say anything else. There was no need. I hugged him. And he cried like when he was a boy and fell off his bicycle. He cried for everything he lost, for everything he destroyed, for everything he would never get back. And I held him, because that's what mothers do. We didn't say anything that morning. We just sat in the kitchen. We drank coffee. We watched the sunrise through the window. "The keys are still yours, Mum," he finally said. "They always were yours." "I know, my love, I know. I was a fool. I was an idiot. She convinced me that you were the problem." And I believed her. I know. How did you know? How did you know that she was that? I touched the keys hanging on my neck. Your father taught me to recognize when someone loves the land and when they only love what they can get from it. Ethan nodded. The tears were still falling. I've lost everything, Mum. My son, my marriage, my job, my dignity. Not everything. You still have me, and you still have time to build something new, something true. I don't know if I can. I didn't know either when your father died, but I did, and you can too. He stayed on the ranch that day, and the next, and the next. We didn't talk about the lawsuit. We didn't talk about Olivia. We didn't talk about the keys. We just worked together, like before. We fixed fences. We fed animals. We watched sunsets. And slowly my son began to return. Not the man who married Olivia, but the boy who once promised to take care of this land. Life always collects its debts. Olivia will be charged with the loneliness of living without roots, without history, without true love. Ethan was charged with pain and loss, but it also gave him a chance to learn, and me. I was charged with years of silence and tears, but I was paid with dignity, and that, in the end, was worth more than everything. Life always finds a way to put everyone in their place, not with revenge, but with truth. Have you seen how karma does its work? 5 years have passed since that morning Ethan knocked on my door asking for forgiveness. Today I am 62 years old, my son is 38, and my grandson, whom I finally met 6 months ago, is 4.5 years old. His name is Robert, like his grandfather. He doesn't live with me. He lives with Olivia in Dallas. But every month, when Ethan goes to pick him up for his visits, he brings him to the ranch. And when that boy runs through these same yards where his father ran, when he climbs the same trees, when he sits with me on the porch to drink hot chocolate, I understand why it was worth resisting. Ethan lives in town now. He works in a mechanic's shop. He earns little. He lives in a small apartment. But he is sober. He is in therapy. And he is learning to be the man his father wanted him to be. The lawsuit ended 3 years ago. Ethan's lawyers withdrew the lawsuit when he returned. Mr. Miller helped me modify the will one last time. When I die, the ranch will belong to Ethan, completely. No trusts, no foundations. But only if he proves for 10 consecutive years that he can take care of it without selling it, that he understands its value beyond money. If he fails, everything goes to Robert when he turns 25 years old. Do you think I can do it, Mum? Ethan asked me when we signed the new documents. I don't know, my love, but I want to give you the chance to try. Olivia remarried last year, to that hotel magnate she met. They live in a modern mansion. They travel the world. They post perfect photos on social media. Sometimes I see those photos, and I wonder if she is happy. I don't think so, because I've learned that happiness doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. And she will always need more. I saw her one more time, 2 years ago, when she came to drop off Robert for summer vacation. She got out of her imported car in designer clothes, with dark sunglasses that hid more than the sun. She looked perfect, as always. But when she took off her glasses to talk to me, I saw something in her eyes I had never seen before. Emptiness. Victoria, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. The ranch looks good. You're still here. I'm still here. It must be quiet, being alone, without worries. It is quiet, I said. Because I am where I belong. Something in my tone made her blink. I am also where I belong, she said quickly. My husband and I are very happy, very successful. We just opened our third hotel. I'm glad to hear that. Awkward silence. Robert ran toward me, shouting, "Grandma!" with that pure joy that only children have. I hugged him. I lifted him up. I spun him around. When I put him down, I saw Olivia looking at us with a strange expression, almost like envy. "Take good care of him," she said, getting into her car. "I'll be back in 2 weeks." She left without saying goodbye to Robert, without hugging him, without telling him she loved him, because some people never learn that love isn't bought. It's built, with time, with presence, with sacrifice. My son is learning it, slowly, painfully, with mistakes. But he is learning it. A month ago, while we were working in the garden together, he told me something I will never forget. "Mum, now I understand why Dad left you the keys. It wasn't to control me. It was to protect me. From myself." I touched the keys that still hang on my neck. "Your father was always wiser than me." "No, Mum. You were wise together. And I was the fool who took too long to understand it." I hugged him. My boy. My man. My son. It's never too late to learn, my love. Today, as I write this in my mind, sitting on the same porch where I have spent half my life, I see Robert playing with the chickens. I see Ethan repairing the fence by the corral. I see the trees my grandfather planted. I see the adobe walls my great-grandfather built. And I understand something that took me 62 years to grasp. Life is not about winning or losing. It's about protecting what we love, even when it costs us everything. It's about knowing when to resist and when to let go. It's about understanding that true love does not demand. It gives, but it also sets limits. I was once called selfish, stubborn, a bitter old woman clinging to the past. Maybe they were right about some things, but they were also wrong about the most important thing. I wasn't clinging to the past. I was protecting the future of that child who now runs free on this land, the future of my son who is learning to be a man, the future of all the generations that will come after me. The keys that hang on my neck are no longer just metal and rust. They are history. They are resistance. They are proof that a woman alone, with no weapon but her dignity, can defend an entire world. Olivia got her rich businessman, her mansion, her perfect life. But I have something she will never have. Peace, the peace of knowing that I did the right thing, that I did not sell out, that I did not betray those who came before or those who will come after. And that peace is priceless. If my story helps even one woman open her eyes, set boundaries, and defend what is hers, no matter who tells her she is wrong, then everything was worth it. The yelling, the tears, the years of loneliness, everything. Because in the end, life always finds a way to bring justice, not with revenge, not with screaming, but with time, with truth, with natural consequences that arrive when we least expect them. Olivia learned that money doesn't buy love. Ethan learned that some things are worth more than inheritance, and I learned that letting go of someone you love doesn't mean stopping loving them. It means loving them enough to let them fall, so they can learn, so they can grow, even if it tears you apart. My name is Victoria. I am 62 years old, and this was the story of how I lost my son to save us both. The keys are still with me, and they will stay here until the right moment comes. Because now I know something I didn't know 5 years ago. The right moment is not when I decide it. It is when my son is ready to receive them. And that day I will rest in peace, knowing that the land that saw me born, that saw me cry, that saw me resist, will be in the right hands. Thank you for listening until the end. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes, a story like this can change an entire day. God bless you. And until next time,